Good day. Welcome to Plain Talk. This is the last episode of this wonderfully viewed series for 2019. And to bring it to a close, we had to put together one of the best panels we've had for the season so far. Joining me, I guess I'll have to go in order of seniority. Joining me in studio, we have former Mayor Ghassan Youssef.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Dr. Kirk Megu, a man that needs very little introduction.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
On the phone, we have Professor Patrick Watson.
Yes, my pleasure, Phillip. I'm happy to be here.
And joining us in a few minutes would also be former Mayor Louis Leasing. So, gentlemen, we're going to have two former mayors, and one of the topics we're going to be touching on today is the recently concluded local government election. I'm looking forward to that. We're going to take a quick break so we can do our animated intro. When we come back, we'll get right into it. And we're back. You're watching Plain Talk. I am joined in studio with Dr. Kirk Megu, former Mayor Ghassan Youssef. On the phone, we have Professor Patrick Watson, who is with us for the duration, and former Mayor Louis Leasing to join us shortly. Gentlemen, the list of topics to be discussed today was supposed to be local government, UNIPET, and the Blue Notes. I know we want to touch also on Petrotrin. But the local government, you want to stick a pin in that until former Mayor Louis Leasing is here?
Sure.
Yeah. We can leave that for that and get right down into the Blue Notes because everybody want to know what's going on.
Yeah, well, I mean, this demonetization thing is insane. Really.
Is that what this is?
Well, we don't know what it is really because they keep changing the terminology.
Yeah, they keep changing.
They're obviously
They're moving the
cutting it
goalposts. Nobody knows what's going on. Nobody knows what's going on.
That's right. And you know, so even in terms of the date of when the last day is, so it's 31st of December now, although yesterday I heard it was 23rd, but it's 14 working days, so 31st of December. But, you know, there are real constitutional issues as well in terms of depriving people of their property. Now, we don't know, it's a test, really, to see how many people are going to be deprived of their property, but it's their number one concern, as they have stated, is to catch money launderers with black money, I guess. I think that's the term they're using, right?
So the government is assuming that we have clever money launderers who are stupid with money.
That's right.
Because you could arrange to have the money, but the purpose of it is laundering it. And you can't, and you're still holding it. Yeah. That don't make sense, Gus?
Well, this is the first time in the world. I mean, I hear about demonetization, but it is for the sake of upgrading your notes, your currency.
Well, what happened is in India, it was tried 3 years ago for this very, very purpose, right? To combat black money, right? That's what they call it. And that's where the
and they end up with so much problems.
Yeah, and it was more drastic than here because Prime Minister Modi.
I want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
I want to ask this question, though.
Yeah.
And I know it's off the charts. Why is everything wrong labeled black?
Exactly.
Why
would
they call it black money and then have to explain what black money is?
Exactly.
That's so disgusting and reprehensible.
They're cutting and pasting. Everything is cutting and pasting. And they don't even realize when they're cutting and pasting inappropriate,
Professor,
offensive things.
Jump in whenever you're ready.
Yeah, let me just say something. I want to talk about a brief statement about the Indian experience, which was also done, as Kirk mentioned, for the very same reasons that are mentioned here, to catch the money launderers, to catch the people with the black money, and it just did not work. And in fact, let me explain, 99% of the money that was outstanding came back in, and you could say that approximately 100%. Not one person was charged for anything, which means that if there were money launderers, and I am quite sure that there were, they managed to beat the system and to get it in. And I don't see why the same thing is not going to happen here.
And
what really suffered? Are you hearing me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, what really suffered was the Indian economy and the Indian people. There were long, painful lines, just as we are seeing happening already.
No, but it also
today.
destroyed sole traders, huh?
Yes, no, it destroyed the underground economy, and I don't use that in a bad way.
Yeah.
I am
No, but
talking
small
about
businesses, sole traders, people who exist.
the informal sector.
Yeah.
And it dealt a terrible blow to that sector. And what we see happening now is something similar is going to happen. That people who deal largely in cash transactions, and they are not necessarily underground economy people, these are market vendors, these are doubles vendors, and so on, they are going to have to now find a way very quickly in a very short space of time. Now, let me say one upfront. One, demonetization is not a bad thing as a thing in itself. Britain had some demonetization recently for its £5 and its £10 note, but they didn't have the same objective, and
That's
both
right.
notes circulated very easily, very comfortably, side by side, until a certain length of time, and then you
That
did have a debt.
No,
that
but-
was
but-
money management. This is demonetization
Exactly.
as national security, which does not
Yeah.
make
And
sense.
exactly that. That
Yeah.
the
And this is where the problem is going to arise. They try to rush this thing in a way that has shown to be a failed way in India, and yet they feel that they can succeed with it. And I am hearing people saying that this is such a master stroke and so on. This
For
may
who?
have been a master stroke when Modi thought about it, but when Modi implemented it, it failed.
No, but Professor, you are not catching the criminals that you looking to
Exactly.
catch
And
with this.
and I
No,
have
I
to
just
say
want
that-
to put this in the conversation, right? Because I want to add this to the
But
conversation.
I wonder, it's $100 US bills.
Yeah, that's what you want.
Stuart Young's stepdaughter,
and of
that's what
course
she was showing in the video.
There's an underground market in Trinidad that was allowed by the government. The casinos. This
Yeah.
is members club business. The government allow it. They are all over. Every rum shop now is a casino.
Yeah.
Every rum shop have machines in it. And you do not want to touch them because they are workers. Now these people only deal in cash because the banks do not allow them to open accounts.
Correct.
Okay, so let's put into the conversation that there are legitimate people who do not use the banking system.
Colm Imbert
That is
himself.
correct.
Colm Imbert
Yes,
himself had
perfect.
$200,000.
Okay, but I want to leave Colm alone, but I'm
No,
saying
but I'm
you're correct.
this
You're
is
not
the
wrong.
newspaper. He
No,
had
you-
20,000
you're
US
not-
dollars.
Camille
200,000
Robinson Regis had 193
in his home. It was
No,
stolen.
no.
Reported.
She had it in a
to the
brown bag.
police.
All I'm saying is, and her money could have been legitimate too. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I'm not saying it's illegitimate.
Right. So
But
let's
there are-
agree. Let's agree
Yeah.
that there are legitimate. There are people with legitimate $100 bills in whatever quantity that wasn't gotten from ill-gotten gains,
That's right. They have them.
and they are now going to have. They're going to be put on a spot to demonstrate a source of funds that they cannot.
I mean, taxi drivers. You understand? I mean,
No, I think they could demonstrate it, but it's the inconvenience of going to the bank and being faced with the untidy and
Another point, Patrick.
inappropriate question.
You know, Christmas time is the busiest, the most business
Of-
transactions
of-
takes place in retail, in money.
Yeah.
Money
Of all the
passing.
things they could have done
Yeah.
to do it at Christmas
You
time
could-
was the stupidest.
you use the worst time.
That was a
You
ridiculous
can't say
thing.
that it's the same as January and Carnival.
they want to hurt business. It's like it's almost
Hurt business or
designed.
help banking. If I was the Bankers
It's both,
Association
it's
of
the same
Trinidad and
thing.
Tobago, I would have designed this for myself, because the Bankers Association of Trinidad and Tobago coming out of this as the greatest winners,
in terms of fees
not just fees.
and banking, and now they have
People
more
who-
deposits.
There are
Yeah.
people who never had a bank account
That's right.
before.
That's right. Now they
Now
have
have to
to.
go and open
Now,
a bank account.
now, this is what they did in India, because after it failed as a national security measure,
Right.
then they said, oh, well, what we did is we banked millions of people who didn't have bank accounts. Okay, if that was your aim, fine.
Why is that a
But-
good aim?
Exactly.
In Trinidad
exactly.
and Tobago, Kirk, where if you are a small person, where the sums of money that you could put in a bank account is less than $500 a year, bank fees are going to eat that up.
Exactly. If it's less than $100,000 a year, you are losing money. You are not making $13 a month in interest, but you're paying that in bank fees just without the transactions on top of that. We are paying banks to hold our money, right? That's what we're doing.
I call it money warehousing.
Yeah.
We are no longer getting interest on our money. The bank is not, I mean, the
It's a
bank
warehouse that
paying.
charges you rent.
is a warehouse
That's
that's
right.
charging you money.
That's
Charging
right.
And that is wrong because, and we've been talking about this for some time, that there should be regulations in the financial sector that governs
Absolutely.
things like this.
Absolutely.
If you have less than $10,000 in the bank, your primary bank account, to protect the small people, the bank should not be allowed to charge them fees, especially if private sector companies, for security reasons, and the state are insisting to pay you in a bank account.
And not only that, the interest rate spreads in Trinidad are criminal.
It is criminal.
It is
ridiculous.
unlike anywhere else in the
The
world.
foreign exchange spread is a
Yes.
Next door, right here in the islands, up the islands, they have to pay a minimum of 2.75 deposits, a minimum. And yet their lending rates are not much more than us, not more than us.
That's right.
They're almost similar.
That's right.
But that is the reality.
Between 7 and 8 and 6%.
Right, right.
So that is the reality of the situation. If banking is supposed to be built on you deposit, I will use your deposits, I will lend it out,
For what?
I will pay you
And-
2.7%,
and that's-
I will lend it out for 40%.
And that's the next thing, because what is a bank supposed to do with that money? It's supposed to lend money to businesses to expand. But what they do is they lend it to people with job letters so they can buy things on higher purchase. It is the banking system.
And that is why credit in this country is so dead. It is so
That is
difficult
right.
to get money. Professor, you're still with us?
Yes. But let me say something about the bankers. The bankers, I don't know that they want more money in their system because we have a liquidity problem. The banks are unable to lend the money. People are
Unwilling.
not borrowing.
Well, I want to ask you a question. I want to ask you to stick a pin. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to be joined by former Port of Spain Mayor Louis Singh. We're back in a couple minutes.
Christmas is just around the corner, and Build-A-Basket wants to help you do gift giving right. At Build-A-Basket, we create attractive gift baskets and boxes, custom made for any reason and season. Baskets start at just $1.99 and make perfect Christmas gifts for individuals, groups, or any size organization. Contact us at 769-4590 or buildabasket.tt@gmail.com, or simply log on to Facebook and Instagram at buildabasket.tt to place your orders. For a limited time only, use coupon code BAB10 to get your 10% off your first order. Delivery and rush orders available. Forget the pressure of shopping around. Let your next present come from Build-A-Basket, where gift giving is a wrap.
Sale, sale, sale. Boddington and Associates Optical is offering free eye testing along with 50% off all frames and 30% off all lenses. Boddington and Associates Optical, located at number 17 Carney Savannah Road, Chaguanas, and 11 McBean Road, Couva. Info line 671-5342. Call and book your free eye testing today. Boddington and Associates Optical, helping you see the way.
And we're back, and the conversation off camera is as animated as on. As promised, former Mayor of Port of Spain, Louis Singh,
Good morning to all of the beautiful people in Pepland.
in Trinidad and Tobago. Yeah, and before we took the break, Professor Watson, who is here with us via phone, he wanted to make a contribution on the liquidity situation. Professor, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm just saying that the banks are not too keen to attract too many small accounts. In fact, my own opinion is they're trying to get rid of them.
Yeah.
You will notice that they are closing down branches. I understand that the RBC on Park Street, I am not saying that this is a fact, but I understand that it's due to be closed permanently somewhere around Park and Henry.
Yeah, but let me disagree with you for a minute, Professor, because the closing down has nothing to do with the accounts. The closing down has to do with they in this money warehousing situation, the fortunate situation they found themselves in. They don't need brick and mortar stores anymore. They just need ATM machines and your money.
No, that's let me just finish the point that they have a lot of money that they don't know what to do with. When bankers have money that they don't know.
And this has been a problem.
Is that a labor to them? Is that a labor to them? They're charging you fees.
But the thing is that in Trinidad and Tobago, if you look at it globally, it is so difficult to open an account in Trinidad. The banks honestly do not want you to put your money there. They are trying to actively keep you out. Whereas if you go abroad to America or Canada, they'll give you. They have all their representatives in the malls trying to make you open an account and get a card.
I want to ask Patrick something. Patrick, isn't it because they don't need to lend all the money? They're making so much money.
Yeah. And they're not
whatever they have.
It's not costing
that
them.
There's no need to lend all the money. But if they had to relax the interest rate and leave the security as is and more, and lend out more money so they create business, the government should play a role in this.
Absolutely.
And they are not playing a role.
That's the government's
because
role.
that's what they are doing. The banks are sitting pretty, making billions of dollars, and they don't care for your money because they have the customers.
Former Mayor Lee Singh, do you have an opinion on this?
No, I think the banks are in business to make money, and they're doing a very good job at that.
I'm not hearing it.
I said, Patrick, the banks are in the business to make money, and they're doing a very good job at that. The regulators are in the business of regulating, and they're doing a very poor job of that.
That's true.
And so we will continue to have a scenario where the banks continue to smile
all the way to the bank
at the expense of all the people who use the banks. I mean, the reality is, we talk about smiling. The banks have charges even for smiling.
Yeah.
And so...
No, but Louis, you can't get credit in this country now, and because what Gus said is a fact. There are countries where it is stipulated what the smallest depositor interest is that you could pay. And because you have to pay those deposit interest funds, you have to recover that through credit, through lending interest. But the banks in Trinidad and Tobago not motivated by that. But
I want to give a word of caution here. There's a revolution right now in Lebanon. Part of the revolution is the banking system. That they're making billions while the people are suffering. Part of the revolution is that. If you look into the revolution that's taking place in Lebanon now, banking is one of the problems. Where the banks are making so much money and yet the people are suffering.
To a certain extent in France too, what's going on in France.
Dr. Morgan Job used to say, banks have to play a bigger role than just making money.
Of course.
Well, you know, the
don't forget we have an economist on the phone, Professor Watson. So
I think we need to see the financial sector
we have to speak a little bit louder.
Professor, ask if you could speak up a little bit because he's not getting you on the phone.
I said I think we need to see the financial sector beyond the banks. I have always had, as you know, I'm a credit union man.
Yes.
And I have a concern that credit unions are not performing their function in this country at this time. I'm also convinced that the regulators who are supposed to be governing credit unions aren't doing their jobs. And so the roles that credit union could play to fill the vacuum of which we speak here, they're not playing it because the credit union leadership is more concerned about being a director and being a president and going on a convention and going on a trip and stealing the bloody shareholders' money with huge and unrealistic stipends.
Behaving like banks. In other words, behaving like banks.
So that I just find it is a ridiculous contradiction for Professor Watson to say that we have too much liquidity in the
Yeah.
system, yet people are pulling their
Yeah.
hair out trying to get credit
Did it-
to develop their business. Our entrepreneurs, we do
And
not.
This has been going
Yeah,
on since the
but-
2000s. Since the 2000s, we've had
Banks are not in the
yeah
business
excess
of lending.
liquidity.
Banks, Professor said banks are not in the business of lending money.
No,
Is that
they're
what you
not in the
just said?
business of lending on bright ideas and so on. When you are a successful person, the banks lend you money.
Right. Okay.
That is how a bank operates.
So when you
Yeah,
don't need
that's
the
all.
money, that's when you can get it.
That's right.
Yeah,
right.
that's exactly the point. And what we need to do as a country, since we're going to eventually get into the politics of this thing, is to make. I mean, Louis already mentioned the credit unions, but there is a role for the government to play in making funds available for people who have bright but scary ideas. Banks don't entertain scary ideas.
Patrick,
When you're making money, then they come to you. In fact, they will come and offer you.
That's
But
right.
they are-
Patrick,
they are
let me
in the
first
business
of all say to you that this is not a society that encourages innovation
It's
and
not.
creativity
It's
in
not.
any way.
That's all.
You know,
That's right.
it's not a society that says to people. I saw the mayor of Port of Spain says he's going to wire up Woodford Square, and my own position is that the people who use Woodford Square don't need free Wi-Fi. The people who need free internet and free Wi-Fi are all these oppressed communities on the periphery of Port of Spain and other places. If it is that East Port of Spain could have invented the steel pan, there are patents waiting to happen in East Port of Spain. But we've got to make the things available to them. We've got to Wi-Fi up the whole
Yeah, but
place
look,
free of
I
charge.
want to say, we keep talking.
Block the internet. Block the pornography.
When we
Well, even that you can make money with.
99.9% they say that porn has taught more men to type than anything else before. But anyway, we stick a pin in that. But the reality is, we have real entrepreneurs in Trinidad and Tobago. The man who invented the automatic one-ton folding machine was a Trinidadian who went Canada.
All sorts of things. When
No,
you go
no,
to a
no,
mechanic
are we-
and you watch how they fix things in your car, and even the level of creativity in Trinidad is astounding.
Astounding.
I mean, we have our own Christmas, right? You don't find this in hardly any other country in the world. We have our own Christmas food, our own Christmas music, our own Christmas traditions. We have, and even the music. There are different genres of Christmas music we have. We have an entire thing here that we have made that is truly Trini. You can go up other islands, you can go to huge countries, and they will not have this level. And you see it over and over and over again in so many things.
I have to pull the conversation back to the Blue Notes though.
Yes, yes.
Because we need to wrap that up and we need to decide. So everybody here, for this topic for now, while it is still ongoing, you didn't really get to weigh in on all of the bacchanal that is taking place as of today. Businesses have put out notices saying that they either not accepting it from now, or I saw a couple of businesses saying December 15th is their cutoff, because everybody's worried about having to take these old Blue Notes now to the bank and if they're going to get through in time.
But you see, this thing about giving people 2 weeks to do this conversion is real nonsense.
It's an insanity.
And it tells you that, I mean, the people they are trying to entrap already outside the
It
trap.
wouldn't work.
Exactly.
This cannot
They're
work.
dealing
And
in U.S. money.
This is
and
an
already
abuse.
invested
This is
in
an
real
abuse of
estate.
power. That is all that
And
this is. That
if-
you could go into Parliament and send Trinidad in a tizzy, so you do it.
But the point is, they can't. It is against the Constitution because they can potentially deprive people of their wealth.
Think about the average Trinidadian who lives overseas.
Mm-hmm.
He leaves here with a couple $1,000
A lot of them.
in his pocket, and he won't change it in the airport because they don't make sense.
Mm.
But he will be coming home for Carnival with it, or coming home for Christmas with it.
Yeah.
What, these people are going to be deprived
Disenfranchised.
of their hard cash?
I want to come in on this matter of business. Sorry.
Let me finish. Let me say this thing. This thing about the $100 bills is yet another illustration of the very poor judgment of Dr. Keith Rowley and this administration.
No, you're right. You're absolutely correct.
Yeah.
I have said time and time again that this man has flawed judgment. People believe I have a grouse against him, but I keep pointing to to real situations.
these are
But no, you're not wrong. Listen,
objective
Massey, I heard
analysis.
today, I was told today from reliable sources that Massey is retracting to 3 businesses: energy, motors, and food. And all the other small businesses are closing down by the end of January. They've already come to terms with wrapping up Massey Realty, and I called them to get verification of this. And people at Massey Realty Real Estate said yes, that the workers are trying to buy whatever they could to continue on together. But as of the end of January 2020, Massey Real Estate will no longer
Listen,
be in business. And I just want to say the global economy grew 3.5%
Exactly.
for all of this time.
I want to put this here. Why I want to say why we are in a very, very, very important and dangerous place in the history of our country, and why these elections are so important in 2022. Because
Elections?
yes, in 2020, because this is political. What is happening? You see, ever since Eric Williams died, there have not been 2 full successive terms in government, right? Yeah.
No, Mr. Manning had that, but he just.
But not full terms. He didn't serve it.
No,
What
he,
I'm saying.
he blew it.
Yes, I know.
No, but
So I'm saying-
2017 was 2.5 years in.
Yeah. So
I'm saying
that's
to
what-
you,
he could have got
He
it.
didn't have to do it.
Right, and Pandey, right? No, but that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying
No,
they didn't win.
Pandey didn't have it.
No, he did.
His troops staged a revolution.
But
No,
if you're saying that, just take up in for 1 second. If you're saying that, the gang of 4 that became the 3 musketeers that pulled him down,
Yeah.
if you're talking
They did
about
pull
that,
him down, yeah.
no, but if you're talking that, remember, there was a troop of PNMites that went to Barbados to formulate a similar plot to vote with
Yeah.
the opposition in a vote of no confidence, which is why Patrick Manning.
In 95.
They had a crossing of the floor act that couldn't
Yeah.
that couldn't happen.
But the point is this: is that these 5-year blocks.
But I understand your point.
Yeah, have and sometimes 7 and so forth, have not allowed a development policy in place. In the 90s was the best period in the fact that Pandey did not dismantle all the positive things that Manning did with Point Leases and reviving the economy. That's why it was our best decade, in my view, the best decade since independence. But so we've had all this. Keith Rowley may be the first, if he wins the next election, maybe the first prime minister, if he wins, to do 10 years. That will be a disaster. A disaster.
Plenty people wanted to do 10 years, but not in office.
exactly. and because where we are right now is very similar to the 1980s, right? We had the
No, it's
lowest.
dangerous. It's dangerous.
We had the lowest drop in GDP since the 1980s. In 1980, we had a drop in GDP 10% in 1983, and people don't understand what happened in the 80s. And you see, we lived through it here. I realized this while making this argument on Facebook. Now, from 1980, the real GDP we lost between 1960 and 1980, we were at the same level as Singapore and Hong Kong, the same level on a per capita GDP basis. Throughout those 20 years, we were
Similar growth pattern.
we were the same, and then from 82, we fell. They kept going up and up and up. Now, people don't realize this, because when I started to talk of this on the internet, then one fella said, the 1980s, LOL. You go, bro. It realized, it hit me. He never lived. He was born after. He thinks I'm talking about the dinosaur age. They don't know the time when
No, but
people
there's
used
no
to drop
critical
their
thinking.
Yes.
There's no critical thinking in
They
the
don't
conversation.
realize when people used to put their keys at the bank and leave the house, how many businesses were destroyed, how many families were destroyed, how many divorces, how the destruction that happened in that time. No investment in infrastructure,
and you're saying way back there.
yeah, because what has happened is in that
Negative
1980s, you know when we reached back the 1982 GDP level? 2001. 20 years we lost.
Professor Watson.
While those countries went up.
Yes.
Professor Watson, the economists on the panel, tell me, do you think that Kirk is correct?
No, we are going through a decline in production, and we have been doing so for a long time now. We have been doing that for some time now, and this government is not helping it. It's the worst we have seen in a long, long time.
Own
actually-
goals.
We are we are getting back to a situation that is pre-2000 at least. That is what is happening here.
Mhm.
And I am not seeing any let up despite, in fact, when Imbe made his budget presentation, I made this point. He is talking about increasing oil production, increasing gas, and I am seeing no evidence of it except what comes from his mouth. And they all, in fact, I think it was Loquan who immediately jumped up and said that is not going to happen. Exactly what I was in. And Loquan is a man who should know from where he sits. Nothing of the sort is going to happen.
But you have a prime minister who has said to his followers that it is impossible to diversify this economy.
Exactly.
How could that person be leading this country?
We
And I
can
wanna
wait
bring-
20 years. I mean, that dip of 11% already probably cost us 5 to 10 years.
Singapore does not have oil and gas. Singapore does not have oil and gas. We suffered the collapse of global oil in the 80s, and we went through the recession that the world
You know
went
how
through.
far
But we
back
had
Qatar was behind us
Yeah,
in
but-
1980?
Gentlemen, I don't know why we spend our time.
no, because I want to add to this that
Looking at
the
these
king
comparisons.
of Saudi Arabia,
I
the
would-
king of Saudi Arabia said, the next time oil drops, it could drop to $1 and he doesn't mind.
That's right.
Because they've diversified the economy. United Arab Emirates, Dubai, these countries have all spread their wealth into other income earners.
Sure.
So we need to begin the conversation about what must we do.
Exactly.
And you see, because we are dealing with mooks, we need to be able to put on the table for them to, because whether the ideas come from us
Right.
or the ideas come from somewhere else, it is important that the ideas, whether they are trashed out or not, that they are available so that
Exactly.
people could begin to think.
Mm-hmm.
We have a situation where the public service cannot think, the politicians cannot think, and therefore it is left to we, the people on the outside, to really salvage and save this country.
Yeah.
Gus,
I want to say something here about
Professor, just hold on 1 second. Gus trying to say something with the past couple of minutes.
I wanted to go back to the blue note for 1 minute, that with the businessman who making a cutoff date on the 15th. I think that's unfair and that is illegal as far as I'm concerned. People coming by you with legal tender and you can deposit the second day. Why are you refusing them? That is...
Is that because certain businessmen do not use the banking sector? And I'm asking you this, not from a position of illegitimacy, because it's still clean money. But if they would prefer to not use the banking sector, is that illegal?
No, that's not illegal.
So you're entitled to save your money
No,
where
but
you
what
want.
is
I just asked you that,
No,
right?
but what is
But you
illegal?
have to be able to show. You have to be able to show, as you seek to exchange these dollar notes, where you got them from. And that's the big thing.
Somebody said that if you do not use the banks, you risk getting robbed in the street. But if you use the banks, you risk getting robbed in air-conditioned comfort.
You
Well, you
got
get
a
robbed
robbery.
by the bank.
You got a robbery.
Yeah, monthly.
But the thing is that
They say the bank-
monthly installment.
the
it is a
bank-
legal tender. A businessman cannot say we're not accepting it. Now I might go on the 27th, say I'm not accepting it because you. How can I accept this blue note, the old one, on the 31st, and the second day is a holiday,
If it's
and then
illegal
I
on
am
the
stuck with
15th,
this money?
it's illegal on the
How-
27th.
You're not allowing me a window to deposit it.
Yeah.
It
And
is
that's the problem. A lot of these business people, Gus, are acting out of fear. They don't want
not
to
on the
get...
15th. it's
No,
not
but-
fair.
No, but you see, this is Christmas time, and they don't want to get caught holding the stick.
Yeah. And you see, this is the quandary that the government has put us into. Willy-nilly, for no reason.
Ridiculous.
For no
Because let's
reason.
go back to the rationale behind doing this. To catch criminals. Listen, we all agree, the intelligent criminals, they're not saving their money in TT dollars, it's not in boxes anywhere. The small fish that you have making videos...
Is the
with a
Polaris,
couple- No,
Polaris
forget-
sellers,
no,
the
we're not
grass
even talking...
cutters, but that's
No, no,
the people who are
leave
living
it.
here.
Leave that alone. Leave the
Taxi
legitimate
drivers.
people alone.
Right.
Let's talk the illegitimate money. What you call in black money? These people who making their videos on Facebook with $50,000 and $60,000, $100,000 in blue notes, fine. They've gotten that money by ill-gotten gains. Okay, they cannot come into the bank with that money and exchange it. So you didn't catch them. You made their money valueless. These are people who are dealing with killers for a living. So now they have to go back and do the same crime again to get this money back. You've not solved anything. You've created now a need for criminals who were sitting on our war chest to go back out where they got it from. All the murder, exactly. All the carjacking, home invasion, all the robbery. Look at it.
I don't know that all of this is going to happen. They are much more creative than you give them credit for. The people who are laundering money and have such money in TT dollars will find a way to get it back into the system, just as they did in India. They don't have to do anything untoward or anything like that. They may very well give me, for instance, $50,000 to accept 150,000. So 50 is mine, and I then have to get rid of that 100. So they are going to find ways.
Yeah.
So we've turned the entire country into a laundromat.
That's right.
That is what is going to happen. And in the end,
but
I am going to take a bet with everybody.
I don't know that you I don't know that we could take that position, you know.
Is going to be charged for money laundering or anything
I
coming
don't
out of
feel
this.
that is going to happen.
And most of the money,
What is going to happen
India, is going
is
to
that-
find its way back into the system. The problem, the people who are being inconvenienced are the people who keep a stock of TT dollars, and sometimes fairly large amounts, because that's how they transact their business. That's how they do it. The person passing by me this morning selling manure and topsoil, he takes cash from you.
No, but I don't even care about money on topsoil here. I want to know, Professor, was Colm Imbert breaking the law when he had $200,000 in his home and 20,000 US? Was he breaking a law?
No.
There is no law being broken if you keep the money in your house, you know.
He could keep his $200,000 in his house.
But look at
Yes,
gentleman.
every-
No, I just want to make a point.
There was a gentleman with $10 million.
That's right.
That
What
gentleman
if-
said he did not have $10 million, and we
Because
don't know.
now,
No, but I'm asking, we know for a fact that Colm said he had $200,000. I want to know if that is legal, then what is exactly the point of this? Philip Franco raised the point of legitimate businesses being victimized who cannot account, they don't have receipts for their manure on the topsoil. What are they going to do?
Well,
No, there is where you're going to have a problem. There are people
I
who have
don't think
relatively
you're going to
large
have a
amounts.
problem with that. If somebody comes and says to the bank and said, listen, I'm a doubles vendor. I earn $5,000 a day. And this money covers my sales, my profits over the last 10 years. You have to deal with that. You
Yeah, but
can't.
they're not. And you saying that, you've put the people, you've put the depositor in a position where he's not sure, and some of the bank people are not sure. I heard this morning that a woman who owns a hardware in Cascade went to the bank. Now she's not been
There's only
putting.
one person that wanna add when-
Yeah, listen. This is a voice note that is on Facebook and on social media. And what is being said is she has not been depositing all her money into the banks. And we've all agreed, Professor Watson said, there is no law that says she has to put it
That's
in.
right, exactly.
But she does not have accounting to say over the years she's been saving this money. Now she has it. What's she going to do? There's an argument.
You see,
Everybody now is a suspected money launderer.
we could go on and on and on this
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
I would want to see the first week of activity and hear from the banks and hear from people who have had the first-hand experience. I am not wasting my time surmising.
Louis Leasing just said we're going to put this team back together and come at it again next week, and we'll follow it up for you. We have to take a break. When we come back, we have two former mayors, Kirk Megu and Professor Patrick Watson. We're going to be discussing the recently concluded local government elections. When we come back.
Okay.
Antel is Trinidad's most reliable and technically experienced ICT company, providers of quality structured cabling, Cat6 data fiber, and power cables. We also stock cabling infrastructure basket-type cable trays for server rooms and data centers. Antel also installs and maintains video security systems including cameras, alarms, and electronic entrance locks for businesses and residential properties. Call Antel 674-1406 or 783-9250.
So many things are happening in this country at the same time. It's hard to believe that the local government election was 2 weeks ago.
Well, I wondered, just to be the cat among the pigeons, I wonder whether this Blue Note drop has to do anything with the curtail that Dr. Rowie and the
And I
party,
think
after
that others wanted to say
after
that as well.
spending
So you are not the cat
$50
among the
million.
pigeons,
Yeah.
you're the cat among the cats.
Yeah.
Because the entirety of Trinidad and Tobago believes that if you are the PNM and you believe yourself in ascendancy and do so poorly in the local government election that's supposed to be an indicator of your prowess and popularity for the coming 2020 general election, what does this tell you?
No, but more than that. But having spent $50 million promoting the campaign. Now, Gus,
Many cash payments.
you're a businessman. Maybe they should have just given every voter $5,000 and say vote for me.
Then they might have won the election.
Yeah. And I'm sure
Yes.
it was 50 million in
But it
cash
was
payments,
offensive.
eh?
But
Their marketing, their advertising.
Maybe they're trying to get back their blue
I mean,
notes.
Yeah, that's
who's
right.
going to watch that and say I'm going to vote for them because of all these TV ads,
But
all these live meetings?
But I want to make a point though.
It's not their money, you see.
My own
There's
feeling.
somebody invested.
My own feeling is that the politics in the country is where it's at, largely because of the politicians. And if it is in an entire local government election campaign, nobody's talking about local government.
Yeah.
And that's the point. And I want to ask this. At the end of the results, they've put results out in the public space, the Elections and Boundaries Commission that we're supposed to trust. And there are so many glaring irregularities, but nobody's taking it on because it's local government. But I mean, I want to say, UNC has an activist that bleeds yellow. His name is Brian Stone. He lives in Diego Martin. How could you tell me in the entirety of Diego Martin, and I know he posted his picture that he went to vote, how did the UNC get 0 votes in Diego Martin?
Well, I mean, afterwards,
No, I don't
they
think so.
did. eh? I mean,
that is wrong.
no,
Did the ABC come back out and say and correct their own numbers?
Nobody
No, they haven't given you numbers.
Because
They haven't given
You
numbers.
have no numbers yet?
No,
no, but
they
they
have
haven't
numbers.
all them in.
They haven't all numbers.
That's
they
not
get
the
votes.
point. I'm saying to you, the
it might be-
official,
it
the
might be-
official
It might
numbers.
be in a district in which Stone lives.
So
But-
the official numbers said
That was reported
Diego
at the
Martin
time. It
Regional
did.
Corporation.
It did.
The UNC got 0.
Yeah. At the time, those are the running
That is wrong.
results.
Even I didn't see that they put out that, but that is wrong because they allocate them an
Exactly.
alderman. But then to get an
Absolutely.
alderman, they get 25% of the votes cast.
Absolutely.
So they better than the last
But
time.
I want to bring up a political, ideological point about this Blue Note.
But Louis said something.
yeah,
just
no.
now. Professor, you still with
I
us?
wanted to- yes, because I want.
Professor Watson, you still with us?
I am here, but I can't get in. You go ahead.
No.
Yeah.
I think I had to pull him in just to say
Okay,
his thing.
maybe because Patrick Watson, as a former Marxist, I want to hear him, and as a former PNM person, I want to hear your view on this.
Marxism
Of course,
into
because
this.
this is what
He
is
said former,
happening.
he said
Both,
former.
yeah.
Are you a former Marxist, Professor?
I am a Marxist.
Okay, as a current Marxist. All right, because what?
Marxist is a dead theory.
Yeah, okay.
That's why the other
But the point is this: you see this Blue Note thing. It is what the PNM is doing is stoking a discourse, which I'm seeing on Facebook and you're hearing on the ground. This is to get at the people with money, right? This is a way of revenge for the people who don't have money against the people who have money. And good, they're complaining. Good, all you have so much money and we need to take care of it, or you're not being taxed, right? So you see this over and over again, whether it be in the property tax issue, whether it be we should tax doubles vendors. Now it's
But
the blue note,
why
and they're pushing
No, but
this
Kirk,
resentment.
Why is the government coming across so hateful? Louis, why are they coming across so hateful? Why this?
But do you agree with the assessment?
There is
I just
nothing
said?
positive.
And
Louis,
that follows on.
Gus, do you feel hope in Trinidad and Tobago right now?
Not at all.
Professor Watson, is anything happening making you feel that we're going to turn a positive corner?
If you have a government in office who they only know how to stoke. Let's go. You use
How
it.
they can
Let's
do
not
what?
be as strong as that.
They only know how to
time they
stoke
open
fire.
their mouth- Every time they open their mouth, it's about what the recent administration did, what wickedness they do. They give you Cambridge Analytica, everything. They are trying to win the election on the basis of don't vote for them. Fellas, they are just pure rot.
Yeah.
That is how they are. They are distasteful. Not that I could do anything, but these fellas are totally rotten.
No, but
And that
Patrick,
is what
they fought the election on a campaign that they are getting it done. And the question must be asked again,
What did they get?
what have they gotten
That's
done?
what they in their slogan, but that's not what they were saying on the platform.
I want to go back to the local government and agree with Louis.
Anything about
that
getting anything done on the platform. They were simply bad talking the opposition and how much money
And
they
telling
need.
lies and telling
Okay, let's
lies.
get down to the relevance of local government. Gus?
That I always say there's nothing local about this local government election. Nothing is local about it, and that's an insult to the local government. Really, the local government is a shell. They use it for their own use. They like to use the councillors as caddy boys and caddy girls for them to do their own political things, and there's an insult to local government.
Local government-
Name one issue they discuss on the platforms in this election that
But
that is local.
I put
Besides
out a-
reform.
I put out a whole
No,
program.
Not you.
Then Louis aside, and
No,
he was about
the
local.
big
He was
campaign.
about it.
And I
But
watched-
talk about the two main parties. But the further point I want to make, because
But,
I want to vote.
I saw an interview on, I think it was CNC3, where they had the PROs of both parties, and the UNC's PRO was making some good points about that it was the government that took the election, the local election, into a national forum, and they had to follow them there.
But the
If
PP
they-
did it before in 2013, so everybody do it. In 2013, I remember it was Jacques
So there
Oda.
is
My own feeling on this is either the country gets serious, which is to say, no, let me preface that by saying, as you know, I am the author of a book with the title Local Government in Trinidad, Conspiracy Against the People.
Right.
That is a book I wrote after serving as the mayor of Port of Spain, having seen local government in its nakedness. But we are now at a point where the government and the opposition should get together in the parliament and say, listen, we really don't want no local government.
Yes.
We-
Absolutely.
But I want them to know that if they do that, they do it at their own peril. Because no parliamentarian, there is no ministerial structure in this country that can seriously address the needs and the wants of the people within the communities through the structure that we have by way of parliamentary and otherwise.
And there have been political movements that have offered real options to that. But we have other topics to get into. So I just want to ask the panel, one by one, is local government as set up now relevant to Trinidad and Tobago?
As it's set up right now, no. You need local government reform. Not
Massive.
a brand new local government kind of
System
government.
that makes sense.
Because I call them the 14 corporation. We have 14 URP
Right.
corporation.
Yeah,
That's what they are.
understand.
Professor,
And we need to give
The answer is no. I
councillors
mean, the answer is no.
just let us finish his thought.
the
Sorry.
responsibility. They have to be given authority. Right now, they have responsibility without authority.
Yeah, Professor.
The answer to the question is no. That it's not relevant. They depend too much on the central government, and even things that are supposed to be appropriate to the local government are not taken into account. Everything comes out of the consolidated fund,
That's good.
and the central government uses it to punish you if you're not part of them. and so on.
Yeah.
If there is no reform, but the idea of local government is an excellent one, even in a small country like Trinidad and
So we have a good idea badly executed.
yeah.
Well,
Louis saying former mayor.
Okay.
I think it serves its purpose, even with all its limitations. But it is only relevant when you have strong people at the level of local government. I mean, I served at local government wearing a red hat because that was the appointment. But once I got in there, I operated for all the people. I had to address the issues with a fellow from the yellow hat. The history will show that the first fellow I had to deal with was a clown. And so we didn't get much done. That did not, as it were, interrupt the services to the people in any way. It meant that we couldn't do things as much, we couldn't expand, etc. By the time we got the second minister, a fellow called Dr. Ramlichan, we were able to sit down with him with the same list of 14 items and with the same unspent balance of $41 million, which we were trying to get the first clown to treat with. He couldn't treat with it because he was busy engaging in petty politics. When we sat with Dr. Ramlichan, he was able to say, listen, this is approved, but you see this, can I get more information on this?
But he came out of the local government system. He was a mayor himself.
Well, more than that, I think he's a professional. The other fellow is
No,
not
he
a
is, but I'm saying he understood what you on any other mayor
would want.
Yeah.
Now,
And that is true.
Yeah.
And so we were able to make rapid strides in short time. Now, the question is, how did we fare? We had serious problems in Port of Spain that we had neither the wherewithal, either the human nor the material resources to fix. For example, flooding in West Port of Spain near the Princess Elizabeth home. Were it not for Jack Warner being the Minister of Works, they would still be flooding down there. But working together with him, we pooled our resources and we were able to find solutions.
Yeah, we have to interrupt you because the question you answer, and it says that you could say that it is yes, but the system is determined and dependent on the quality of the appointee or the officials running it. So as it
That's
that is
okay,
yeah. So but your answer is you're coming straight to you. Your answer is a conditional yes.
It is based.
If you or somebody of your caliber is at the helm, it can be made to work.
I think so.
Yeah.
But generally, it does not work.
But I can't say that either because
Do you think the other corporations are working?
some of them work well.
Besides Sangre Grande?
No,
I only get good news from Sangre
Shogunas
Grande.
works well.
Yeah.
There's a
I live in
no,
Shogunas.
there are many good functioning corporations.
But it needs an overhaul.
Tunapuna, Piako
But the
Regional
system needs an
Corporation.
overhaul. Yeah?
But you can't expect to give people the kind of resources to buy sponge cake and hope that they're gonna do a caviar job with it. You know?
Exactly.
No, I understand that, and let me.
Because I wanted to
And let me deal with the last point in local government. The whole issue about the structure and the reporting roles are crucial. For example,
Absolutely.
we had a chief executive officer who didn't report to the mayor, to the council, with whom she worked every day. She reported to a permanent secretary up in Kent House.
And that is what we mean.
And-
when we say the system, you see, Louis, you would go in there. Yeah, what is
No, my CEO told me you are not my boss.
That's right.
My
But if-
boss is the PS. Told me that point blank.
But
So-
the last time you were here, we
That would
discussed.
happen.
The last time you were here,
What
Because
you
when that happened, I say that is the case. Well, I took the whole council to the Statutory Authority Service Commission, who is really her boss.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I said, I
But
went
do
up
you know
there.
the head of the Central Commission was there? Was Alvarez?
see why we have two mayors. I just want to let Kirk weigh in on that question because we have other things to deal with. Listen, I was hoping to have actually invited Jack Warner. He had to beg off at the last minute, but I was hoping to have the two of you and Jack because he was a Minister of Works, and we will get to that in the new year. But tell me, do you think, yes or no, as set up, does local government relevant?
And there's no, for the reason said, by design. We have to understand it's design.
Broken by design.
Purposely designed by, because in the pre-colonial period, we had formidable people as mayors. They were platforms against the colonial government. So whether it be Albert Gomes or Cipriani in Port of Spain, or you had Rienzi, or I'm trying to think of some of the other mayors, but you had real
larger than life
figures as local. Now when the PNM lost they narrowly won 56. They lost the 58 federal elections. They lost the 59 county council elections. They put in the reforms because they changed everything. I won't get into the whole constitution thing, but at the local government level, they suspended the county council elections until 1968. So for almost 10 years, they had no county council election because, as they were doing with the rest of the country, they were centralizing everything.
No, they might have had an election in 59.
Yes.
Because I have a...
They did, that's what I'm saying. So
I have a
59 they
manifesto.
lost. That's right. And 59 they lost in the DLP. Just like after 58 they lost in the federal election. So they suspended it until 68. And then when they brought it in 68, everything had been so emasculated, so dependent on central government, so overlapping, so that you have CEOs reporting to this one, and you don't know who's in charge of this road and who's in charge of traffic, and everything just becomes total mess for central control.
We appreciate I appreciate the history lesson, but I need to bring it back to this, because there needs to be an agreement, and at some point the public has to be led by people who are capable of saying, look, this is not working, but this can.
Right.
Do we have an idea of what can work?
Now I want to put a conceptual
historically, has it worked
in other places or in Trinidad?
Trinidad and Tobago.
Not as yet.
No.
There have been things.
Local government has worked, and it would be as it were treating the contributions of all these local government practitioners over such a long period.
No, what I'm saying, I am saying that they have done yeoman service despite the system. So for all of you that have achieved, you've done it in spite of
the county council. The county council, was it 8 county councils?
It was St. David, St. Andrew,
St. George, and St. David.
It
was 8 county. How we end up at 14?
That was 1990 reform under the NAR. Right, so that's what happened. Because now,
is that a decentralization or a centralization?
Yes, now this is the thing. You see, because in the local government reform discourse, there's a concept that is confused: devolution and decentralization. It's two different things that people don't understand. Devolution is actually the devolution of authority and decision making. So that, let's say in the United States, each state has its own drinking age, its own driver's permit, right? So that's devolution. That's real devolution. I don't think in Trinidad we want that, where in Chaguanas you have one thing in Port.
No, but you could have
maybe, but then you have decentralization.
But you could have devolution to the point of view
use
where there is real authority.
Use the word autonomy. Give the constituencies or whatever model you work, give them autonomy. All of you talk about the same things. That you have a budget and you say you allocating funds that people never get.
Well, the reality is this. You have these blokes sitting on top here. And if you are the mayor in Port of Spain, you would come across this kind of problem more than any other regional corporation. Because this is the seat of governance. And every minister looks out his window. And whatever he sees remotely connected to his ministry, that's his responsibility. He doesn't understand that there is a regional, there is a local government body that is responsible for those things he perceives to be his.
Yeah.
In addition to that, you have a situation where the government over the years have operated as if there is no local government in Port of Spain, and because the mayors have always been paper people, because successive mayors have come and gone, because it's a PNM local council and it's a PNM government, things have not happened. So that we had a situation, and I need to point this out. We had a situation in Port of Spain where I, as the mayor, took on everybody to secure a piece of land in Westmoreland. And the city takes a decision that by law that we are going to designate that the West Park Savannah. It was 33 and a third acres. It's the last green space in this part of the world. Well, we set up a committee made up of residents of Cocoreet, Waterhole, Powder Magazine, all the communities.
Surrounding.
And the chair was reserved for the city of Port of Spain. The intent really was to build the bloody park. What has happened since that? I left office and they hive off 5 acres to give to the Diego Martin Regional Corporation to build God knows what. Then they hive off piece and they give it to TNTech.
8 acres for TNTech and then they fly over.
But worst of all, they hive off a big piece.
I think it's 8 acres.
For a ridiculous.
To put a flyover to bring people from Westmall
And
into Four Roads.
Now, again, and I have to interrupt only because
Why did if you want that
we have
the
to
people in Westmall build the flyover?
absolutely. And another time we will convene a local government committee panel to have a conversation.
So I thought I would make that point to you.
No.
To show you how things commingle. Because
I understand.
the member
I watch
of
under the
Diego
people's-
Martin West work out, well, listen, this is a nice thing to jump on. Because at one point he wanted to build a school there.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
What we don't need is another school building. What we need in this country are schools.
But why are we making public policy for private enterprise? And I have to stick the pin there because we need to come at the conversation now. We also wanted to touch on Unipet. Professor Watson, you still with us?
Yes.
The Unipet fiasco.
Yeah.
Hey, Patrick, you're a man with tremendous patience. But
What was your view on that?
What?
Lead us into that. Yeah, lead us into that.
Well, this was a situation that could have been avoided, but again, I think you used the word somewhere along the road, like spite, and I think this came into this discussion as well. Unipet has been asking. No, let me say this: I have no brief for Unipet. They don't pay me anything. I don't owe anything to them. I must say, I support the idea of other service providers in that sector in this country, but they are complaining that they are not getting sufficient profit margins and so on, and they are therefore locked in a battle over it. I am quite sure, especially after reading that article by Mariano Brown, who was a minister at the time, that 100 million is normal credit facility inside of that. In fact, he said it's about 2 weeks supply. So you could imagine that people could have wrapped up a whole set of debt. And I would love to know what NP owes in all of this. In fact, I could take a bet it's much more than the 100 million. But there was an attempt, in my view, to force Unipet into signing an agreement that they were not really too much interested in. And as the consequence of that is that, as the African proverb is, when the elephant fights the grass that suffers, and that is exactly what happened here. And it is now finished, hopefully, and it is something that, in my view, have been totally avoided.
But was it strong arming?
By whom?
By the political directorate?
No, I have no doubt about that. In fact, if you read Mariano's article, I don't always agree with Mariano, but this time I did. The Unipet, now don't get me wrong, Unipet, this is like a normal negotiation situation. Unipet was trying its best to get things in its favor. The government is preventing, but the government then intervened in a way to cut off the supplies. And I am not buying this thing that you could distinguish between them and Paria. I know that Paria will take its instructions from the government. In fact, the whole commentary, it came first from Colin Mayor about the 100 million, and then it came out of the parliament from the mouth of Kipori, only to be told a few days after that the government owes Unipet more than $100 million in VAT and subsidies. So all of this could have been avoided, and you know, one of the the agreement had to do with UNIPED withdrawing its action, because I am quite sure that the government would have lost that case.
And I want to ask you, that action, why didn't UNIPED stand its ground and attempt to break the monopoly?
Well, I can't speak for UNIPED. As I say, I am not in their corner, and I am not fighting their
No, but the only thing that made me interested in that cat fight is the fact that it could have broken a serious monopoly, and that I am interested in. Why didn't UNIPED continue along that path?
I mean, UNIPED has its own interest. Remember, they are there to make money, yeah, and I can't fight with them over that. And when they are shut down for 2 weeks, they lose a lot of money. So we have to be very, very careful of that. You see? So,
but this is part of the. I mean, just a step outside to look at it from a bigger perspective. This is part of the own goals that the PNM constantly doing. This was totally unnecessary by causing long fuel lines, by effectively shutting down, I don't know, what is it, 1/3, 1/4 of stations. I'm not sure what the figure is, but it's a significant number of petrol stations. So now, I mean, what effect is that going to have on the economy? By making people panic about blue notes and have to take time off or whatever.
The country started to feel unstable.
Yes.
It started to feel like it could fall apart.
That's right. It's feeling like Venezuela.
Everybody's making the contrast.
To me, I feel offended by my politicians who are in charge to lead me on to a path to, yeah, boy, how these people, they owe 172 million and they want more? No, don't give them. How could you give them?
I agree with you.
And I like to believe that.
And
the next day, you hear that the government owed them 134 million. These lies that former Mayor Louis talk about, they lie every day.
And
they lie all day long.
How do you trust
the people?
I don't listen to anything, but anytime I hear them talk, I assume they're lying.
Mm-hmm.
And
that is a sad indictment against the government.
Of course. And they brass face, they only come and say, we're sorry we didn't say. Why didn't you give me full disclosure from day one? Why didn't you tell me they owe me 172 and we owe them 100?
In Trinidad, that's normal. The government owes workers, they owe
they owe everybody back. The SRPs. The only reason the SRPs are not striking for their back pay is that they've been threatened. We have Island School winning medical students in our hospitals that have not been paid their stipend for 9 months.
Yes.
How could you do that? These people are working ridiculous hours in our hospitals, round the clock sometimes. When you are
my daughter's one of them.
Okay, and exactly, so they're not getting paid. So you tell me.
So Gus, you're paying her.
Yeah.
You're paying her.
Yes.
No, Gus is our resident 1%, you know.
No, because she worked. They told her first, they changed the system, you had to put in your working hours. She wanted to put it in, you had to get signed. You wouldn't believe the kind of thing. And then some girl in the ministry, tell her she lost it. Go back all over the process again.
So the entire country and everybody that is dependent on the state in any way has a story to tell. Mm-hmm. The VAT payments is a ridiculous thing. And I was saying that one has nothing to do with the other. Mariano Brown made the point that this is normal operational credit for UNIPED. So why did it have to come to this?
Because, let me say to you, you're playing with a government because of its terrible performance, its non-performance, its unprofessionalism, its ineptness, its incompetence. Because of all these things, it is forever looking for red herrings to put your mind on something other than what you're supposed to do.
So government by distraction.
No, but and worse than that, scapegoats, because them owing the government $100 million. Oh, them thieving money.
But at no point in this.
What about the victimhood role they play? The Prime Minister got up in Parliament. Look, they're taking us to court. How much money we have to pay? You have to pay.
Gus, the biggest crime, I think, in this regard is that this is a government that campaigned 2 elections ago on fraud and corruption.
Corruption.
With the last government.
Yes. And the savings, they will make this country prosper forever.
So one would have thought that this government, seeing that it was coming with a tagline, getting the job done, would have utilized the last political campaign to seriously illustrate how it was getting the job done. What they did for near 5 weeks was to tell the same stories about the same previous government.
As if they're in opposition.
But how do you
No,
expect?
they are a victim.
How do you
They are saying they are a victim of
Yeah,
the.
but Gus, how do you
the
expect?
opposition,
How do you
yeah.
expect the country to prosper if every day people wake up with some new drama?
Yeah.
Well-
So that is not a stable society.
Well, it isn't a stable society, and the reality is this: when the prime minister talks about the people who are claiming that things are not good are the elites. Who else in the society do you expect? Whose responsibility it is, other than the elites, to talk about the weaknesses in the society?
Where the 50 million came to advertise this campaign? Where that come from?
All good things come to an end, and this very vibrant panel too must come to an end. I have to give everybody their chance to wrap it up. I'm gonna start
Yes.
with Gus.
I want to go to one point. The past local government election was nothing about local government. It was a referendum against the government. And to get 200,000 votes against you, or 205, 10, as opposed to 160, I think there's a loss of confidence in this government.
Rudolph say it again. Push into the Gulf.
Yeah.
When you look at the man,
So,
that was funny.
There's a loss of confidence. There's a motion by the people that passed
Absolutely.
loss of confidence.
Absolutely. That's what that was. That's what that was, Professor.
This is my closing.
Give us your
Yes,
closing.
I want to say that I think that there's a general fed-upness, and notwithstanding the large amount of money. In fact, I heard somebody you should know, estimated about $50 million spent by the current
On the
administration.
full campaign. Might
Yeah,
be more.
they were soundly rejected, and that is telling us that we have to get going to get rid of them. That it is as simply as that.
That's what I'm about.
And I want
I'm getting rid of them.
all of this, and I cannot imagine why it is they almost deliberately walking into one trap after another. This blue note issue as you're talking.
Unforced errors.
I'll look on it now.
Own goals.
It's Christmas time. It's a short period. Everything is wrong with choosing this period
There
of
is
time.
not one win in that whole fiasco, Professor.
And when
And
they
look
catch
at
nobody,
back
it'll be
now.
worse.
Anyway, that's fine.
Yeah.
Thanks very much for being here.
Thanks for being here with us, Louis.
I think we need to seek to do what is necessary to have local government become an agenda item in the country. To force the politicians, and note well I'm not saying government, because on the last occasion when the other party was in, they did do two small things. For the first time at last, they provided offices for councillors who, prior to that move, had to use their car trunks and their briefcases as their offices. A man like Terry Rondon, with the largest geographical area for his district, had to be operating out of his trunk. If you saw his trunk, he had rope and chainsaw and things like that. He now has an office. In addition to that, they moved to the proportional representation. And whether, the same people who frowned on it then are very happy about using
Benefited
it
from it now, yeah.
So that it tells me that we've got to force the politicians to put local government on the agenda. They've had how many consultations? How many consultants have they paid? How many people have gotten rich?
But Louis, I want to ask you a question.
You follow?
If you could say that, then wouldn't you think that if it was really their intention to reform it, it would have been reformed by now?
No, well, you see, let me put it this way. I have grown to recognize, particularly this Minister of Finance, what he is. For example, it was not surprising to me that they forced the marijuana bill into the parliament, the ganja bill. But if they really wanted a bill to force into the country, now the logic with that was that if they came and said 100,000 people would be freed, that all the 100,000 people family would vote with them. You understand? Maybe that happened.
Political machinations
But they
should not direct the agenda.
But the reality is this, that nothing that this government did in this campaign was about local government. I must say, on the other side, and I'm holding no brief for the Yellow Party, but for every meeting leading into this campaign, whether it was their Monday night forum, they did have 4 local government candidates speaking on the
local matters.
on the local matters.
Kirk,
So there is hope.
Kirk, bring it up.
Right. Well, I agree with what all my fellow panelists have said, and we are dealing with a government on the rampage here. They are rampaging against the citizens, against the economy. They are totally destructive, and we must get rid of them, because this is going to have. We are at a point where this is going to have effects for decades to come. If we give them another 5 years, they've already set us back perhaps a decade. Right? If we give them more, this government is it's just full of rage and incompetence and nihilism, nothingness.
And not only that, but they ever so often, and they, let me rephrase that, too often are they, as it were, raising the race card. And I listened to a radio program on Saturday, and I listened to 2 of their ardent mouthpieces, and they were claiming in that program that black people are ungrateful for not voting.
Right. So, on that note, we are going to have to bring this to a close. This was Plain Talk. We had a fantastic panel. The contributions was at the highest level, and it should serve the purpose of leading us all to think and act critically. Every one of the contributors raised issues as to how this country should be governed. It's not. We're living in a time that feels like Trinidad and Tobago is broken and breaking more every day. We need to take responsibility for that. Louis said, and I agree, that it is up to the nation, the people, to determine the caliber of politics and politicians we get. That should be where we are all focused. Until our year-end review next week, which we were supposed to have some of today, but we lost it in time. So until then, stay safe, Trinidad and Tobago.